Hello you guys, and thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I wanted to make, hopefully this is going to be a short video because I've been trying to shoot this video. But there's just been a lot that's been on my chest and just on my heart. Look, my channel is obviously about trans-related issues. And I think the biggest issue that I faced in my transition, especially in the early days, was being viewed as not the right kind of trans. And what I mean by that is when you begin your transition, often people have so many varied opinions of how they think you should transition and what they think you should look like in order to be quote unquote taken seriously by them. Now, when I began my transition, I was first in therapy for a full year, and then that was 2011, and then in 2012, I attempted to transition, but I was bullied relentlessly in university, and I was forced to detransition, which still remains one of the darkest and hardest periods of my life thus far. And I've had quite a few dark periods. Now, in 2013 was when I really took a stand for myself. It was when I really took ownership of my own transition, where I took ownership of my own truth, and I decided to transition again and live full-time as myself, regardless of what the obstacles would be. Now, when I did that, I remember people did a lot. People literally did a lot. I was being made fun of a lot. Remember, this was 2013, and that's like what, 7 years ago? That's like 7 years ago. And this is before Caitlyn Jenner, before trans was, people knew about it, but it wasn't, in South Africa at least, it wasn't discussed in the way that it is discussed now. So I became persona non grata at university. And it centered around my physical appearance and how, because I was still early on in my transition and had masculine features, that inherently made me less than. People within the queer community thought of me as less than. I remember I worked for an NGO, and there was another trans girl who was in the NGO with me, and she was considered as the beautiful, ideal, the right kind of trans, and I was the wrong kind of trans. I was the dark one. I was the one who wasn't on hormones. I was the one who looked masculine, and therefore people acted as though I was somehow less worthy of respect. And I got berated, by gay and lesbian and trans people also berated me because I did not fit their expectations of what a woman should be. And it's crazy because it affected my dating life as well because, people were less willing to be seen with me in public. And I had, like conversations with guys who would always ask, do I have breasts? Do I have this, that, and the other? It was almost as though they had this checklist that I needed to tick off in order to be considered the right kind of trans. And I remember there were so many guys who told me that I wasn't even trans because I didn't have breasts back then, or I didn't have this, or I didn't have that. And being the quote unquote wrong kind of trans affected my dating life, and it affected how I saw myself. It made me believe that I was not worthy to be loved and that I was unlovable. And what could have been and what should have been a beautiful part in my journey, which is the beautiful ambiguity of gender, moving from one self into another self. That should have been a really beautiful part of my journey where I was learning about myself and I was reclaiming my femininity. No, it was shattered. It was shattered by people's demands and expectations of me. And it made me feel like I was under pressure. I felt like I was under pressure to get surgeries done, to be on hormones, to do A, B, C, and D. And the fucked up thing is, the reason a lot of trans women don't have surgeries or aren't on hormones is because these things are not always readily available or accessible to the majority of trans people. Fun fact. Not all trans people come from the UK or Canada and the US and have access or means. Not all trans people are middle class. A lot of us come from places. I mean, I come from a third world country. You know what I mean? I'm from Africa. And I didn't have the necessary means to pay for hormones. I worked my ass off and I got hormones, and I worked my ass off and I got surgery. But this whole idea that we pressurize trans women to look a certain type of way, and we expect them to have all of these surgeries, is so elitist and classist. Just because you are able to, just because you have accessibility to those things, does not give you permission to now tear down another trans person who may not have the means, who may not have the financial support, family support, emotional support, whatever. Doesn't mean you need to break them down. It really, really doesn't. We need to start being okay with the ambiguity that comes with the gender. There's nothing wrong with being in the early stages. There's nothing wrong with being that butterfly that just is still in a cocoon. There's nothing wrong with that. And we shouldn't shame people. We shouldn't shame people because in as much as we like to separate ourselves from other trans people, as much as we like to separate ourselves from the wrong kind of trans people, we forget that we all started at A. We didn't just jump and we were suddenly at the letter H. We had to first go from A, B, C, all the way. You know what I mean? And having had surgery and having gone on hormones and finally reaching the female threshold, I now feel like I'm at a point where I can relax, where all eyes aren't on me. But does that mean I don't get clocked sometimes? No, of course not. I still get clocked. There are still moments. Bear in mind, they're far and few in between. They are far and few in between, but it still does happen. So I cannot, in good faith, look at another trans person and laugh at them or berate them, because I've been there and I know how hard it is. So if you're still early in your transition, my angel, it'll get better. I know it doesn't feel that way right now, but it will get better. You just have to take this thing one day at a time. And don't worry about what these people are saying about you. You are beautiful. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of respect. Don't listen to these men, because they don't know a damn thing they're talking about. You are a gem. One of my favorite quotes is, "No baby has ever measured the size of its hips to find its self-worth." Don't measure where you are in transition to find your self-worth. You are worthy because you exist. I love you. I support you. And I can't wait to see you on the other side. If you choose to do the whole hormone thing and surgery thing, baby girl or baby boy, shit's about to pop. It's about to happen. And if you don't, it's your journey. Own it and claim it. But just be you. You know what I mean? So I love you guys. I'm gonna say goodbye. Thank you for the support. Everyone who just subscribed, thank you so much. I reached 1,000 subscribers, right? So thank you. I love you guys so, so much. Bye.